That feeling you had this morning, standing in front of the mirror, hair done, everything technically fine, and something still looked heavier than it should. You couldn't name it. You just knew. That knowing has a name, and it has a fix. Most women wait years to find it. You're finding it today. You are not someone who stopped caring. You pay attention. You notice details. You are exactly the kind of woman this matters most to. And that is precisely why one thing in your cut right now is working against everything your face is trying to show the world. Every single morning, the wrong cut quietly adds 4 to 6 years to how your face reads in any light. Not your skin. Not your features. The cut. And the correction takes one appointment. Once you know what to ask for. There is something in part 3 that a senior colorist told me she only shares with her closest clients. And once you hear it, you will understand why the hairstylists who know it never say it out loud in the chair. I mean that. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and youth-boosting fixes for mature women, so you get simple, proven transformations that work immediately. Today we're covering 3 haircuts that will make you look 10 years younger and 3 you should avoid. And by part 2, you're going to want to stop and look in the mirror. I mean it. Part 1 opens with the haircut mistake I see on almost every woman I speak to. Part 2 names the 3 cuts that do the most heavy lifting for your face shape. Part 3 has that colorist secret. And Part 4 gives you the exact language to use in the chair, so you walk out with what you actually came in for. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every week. Part 1, the 3 cuts that age you most. Here is something nobody in the salon will say to your face. 3 of the most popular haircuts worn by women over 60 are actively working against them. Not because the cuts are ugly, but because of what they do to the geometry of a mature face. And the worst part? Most women have been wearing at least one of them for years, convinced it is safe. It is not. You have probably heard that a bob is a timeless choice. And it can be the right bob, worn the right way. But a blunt jaw-length bob on a woman over 60 is one of the most age-adding cuts in existence. And it does it quietly. The blunt line sits at the widest part of the jaw and draws every eye directly to it. On a younger face with high collagen, the jaw is firm and defined. On a mature face, yours, mine, any of ours, the jaw has naturally softened. A hard horizontal line at that point does not frame your features. It frames the softening. This specific cut is pulling the eye downward, flattening your cheekbones, and adding at least 4 years to how your face reads in any light. The fix is not a different length. It is removing the bluntness. Layers angled away from the jaw immediately lift the eye toward the cheekbone, where your real beauty lives. The second cut most women do not realize is aging them is the one I call the helmet cut, and you know it the moment I describe it. All one length. Cut level at the bottom. Volume sitting high and wide, like a round mushroom shape around the head. It is extraordinarily common. It is also extraordinarily unforgiving on a mature face because it does 2 things simultaneously. It adds width at the crown and the sides, which shortens the appearance of the neck. And it flattens everything above the cheekbone by removing any directional movement from the cut. This is the one a friend of mine heard described this way, and immediately called her stylist that afternoon. She had been wearing it for 9 years. When the layers went back in, 10 years dropped. That fast. That clean. The third cut, and this one surprises people, is a very short cropped pixie with no length variation. Not a shaped pixie. Not a textured pixie. A cropped all-over pixie that sits the same length from top to sides with no graduation. On some women it works beautifully, but on most women over 60, this cut removes the one tool that could balance a naturally changed jawline: length variation. Without it, the eye has nothing to travel along. It lands on the jaw and stops. What changes everything is adding even half an inch of length variation at the top and a soft taper at the nape. That tiny shift redirects the eye upward toward the eyes and cheekbones. Write this one down. Coming up next, the 3 cuts that actually do the opposite. The ones that give everything back. The most powerful of the 3 is the one most women have never even considered asking for. And part 2 is where it lives. Part 2, the 3 cuts that give 10 years back. Let's be completely honest for a moment. Most of what you've been told about haircuts for women over 60 has been vague. Go shorter. Keep it simple. Less maintenance is better. And all of it, while technically harmless, has been completely useless. Because the question is never how short. The question is always which shape and why, and exactly where the layers need to land to do the specific work your face needs right now. The first cut that changes everything for women over 60 is the layered lob. Not the blunt lob, the layered lob, falling anywhere between the collarbone and 2 inches below it. This is the length that most women never consider because they assume longer means heavier. The opposite is true. When the lob is layered correctly, with face framing pieces that angle toward the cheekbone rather than the jaw, it does something extraordinary. It creates vertical movement. And vertical movement in a haircut is the closest thing to a non-surgical lift that exists. The eye travels up along the layers. It lands at the cheekbone. Your cheekbones were always stunning. This cut makes sure the world sees them. If you are still reaching for a blunt jaw-length bob, swap it for a layered lob that falls just past the collarbone. The length alone changes how your cheekbone reads in photographs. The second cut is the soft shag. And I want to address the word shag because I have heard women over 60 dismiss it the moment they hear it. And that is one of the most expensive style mistakes they make. A shag for mature women is not the shag of the 1970s. It is not messy. It is not youth-chasing. A properly cut soft shag for a woman over 60 is a precisely engineered cut with curtain bangs or wispy face framing, layers distributed from the crown downward in a way that creates movement at every level. It adds volume where the hair has naturally thinned. It removes visual weight exactly where it should not sit, which is at the jaw. And it does something almost no other cut achieves. It makes fine silver and white hair look intentionally luminous rather than flat. This is the one I wish someone had told me about 10 years earlier. Honestly. The third cut, and this is the one most women have never asked for because nobody has named it to them, is the graduated soft pixie with a defined nape taper and elongated top. Not cropped all over. Elongated at the crown, tapered at the back, and absolutely precise at the neckline. What this cut does is create an unbroken vertical line from the nape of the neck to the crown of the head. That line is the single most youthing geometric element available in a haircut. Your neck looks longer. Your jaw appears sharper. Your cheekbones appear higher. And if your stylist adds even the faintest side-swept fringe, loose not heavy, the effect is immediate and extraordinary. That one detail from part 3 is connected to this cut specifically. You will understand why in a moment. What I just covered. Most women I speak to find the next part even harder to hear. But it is the one that makes every single cut work, or quietly unravel. That is next. Part 3. What your stylist knows but doesn't say. There is a reason the 3 cuts from part 2 work so well for women over 60, and it is not just the shape. The real reason is something most stylists understand instinctively, but almost never explain out loud. And once you understand it, every single haircut decision you make from this point forward will be completely different. More precise, more intentional, and dramatically more effective. I watched a woman in a salon chair last week. Stunning bone structure, perfect posture, cheekbones most women would give anything for, and one cut was doing all the wrong things to her face. She kept asking the stylist to just clean it up. She didn't know what she was actually asking for. And the stylist, who I know well, cleaned it up, because that is what she was asked to do. Afterward, the woman looked in the mirror and said it looked the same as always. It was. Because clean it up maintains the problem. The secret is that what you ask for determines what you get, completely independent of the stylist's skill. Here is what that senior colorist told me in confidence. The single most powerful thing a woman over 60 can do in the salon chair is not choose a new cut. It is ask for the cut to be built around her cheekbone line rather than her jaw line. That instruction alone changes every decision the stylist makes. Where the layers fall, where the weight sits, where the movement begins and ends. Most stylists know how to do this work. Almost none of them are ever asked to do it this way, because nobody tells you to ask. This is everything. Sit with that for a second. Your jawline has changed. This is not a flaw. It is biology. Every woman's jawline softens over time, including the most beautiful women you have ever seen on screen. What does not change is your cheekbone structure. Your natural bone architecture is permanent, and it is stunning. The only question is whether your haircut is framing it or ignoring it. The 3 cuts from part 2 all work because they are designed, when cut properly, to frame the cheekbone. The 3 cuts from part 1 all fail because they frame the jaw by default. Once you understand this, the choice becomes obvious. Now here is the maintenance piece, and this one is specific. Whatever cut you choose from part 2, book your trim at 8 to 10 weeks rather than 12 to 14. Not because the cut needs it, because the face framing layers are the first thing to lose their precision, and once they grow out past the cheekbone line, the entire effect collapses. You do not need a full restyle. You need 30 minutes and the right instruction. Which brings us to part 4, and the exact language that gets you what you came in for. There is one thing about part 4 that nobody in this space talks about plainly. I'm going to say it directly, and it is going to change how you walk into every single salon appointment from here on. Part 4, the exact words to use in the chair. You can know every single thing we have covered in this video. The 3 cuts to avoid, the 3 cuts that lift the cheekbone principle from part 3, and still walk out of the salon with exactly what you had before. Not because the stylist is bad, because of the words you used. The language gap between what women over 60 ask for and what they actually need is the most invisible and most expensive mistake in this entire space. Just a trim. 2 words. And they instruct your stylist to maintain the exact problem you walked in with. Clean it up. Same result. Keep the shape but take a little off. Also the same, because the shape is the problem. These phrases feel safe. They protect you from making a mistake. But they also protect the mistake from ever being corrected. The most common thing women over 60 say in the salon chair is some version of, "I want it to look the same but better." And the real reason this never quite works is that same and better are not the same request. Better requires something different. And different requires specific language. Here is what specific looks like. Instead of just clean it up, try this. "I want to keep the length but I'd like face framing layers that angle toward my cheekbones rather than my jaw." 11 extra words. That is all. Those 11 words tell your stylist exactly where the weight should move, exactly which part of your face you want highlighted, and exactly which direction the layers need to travel. Every good stylist, and most stylists are good at their work, will know precisely what to do with that instruction. Swap "clean it up" for that phrase and you will not recognize yourself in the mirror. That is not an exaggeration. For the soft shag or the layered lob specifically, add one more instruction to your request. I'd like the layers to start just above the cheekbone and travel downward. Not horizontal layers, diagonal layers. The difference between a horizontal layer and a diagonal layer is the difference between a cut that frames and a cut that lifts. Diagonal layers create that vertical movement we talked about in part 2. Horizontal layers sit flat. Most stylists default to horizontal because most clients never specify. You now know to specify. And for the pixie, if that is your cut, the phrase is simply, "I'd like more length at the crown and a clean taper at the nape, with a soft side-swept fringe if you think it suits my cheekbone line." That last clause, "if you think it suits my cheekbone line," is the most important part. It signals that you know what your cheekbone line is, that it matters to you, and that you are asking the stylist to use their expertise in service of it. Stylists respond to that signal. It changes the entire energy of the appointment. You have been one appointment away from this for years. Now you have the language. Use it. You just learned the 3 haircuts quietly aging you. The 3 cuts that lift everything back, the cheekbone principle that makes any cut work, and the exact words to use so you walk out of the salon with what you actually came in for. In one sitting. What most women spend years piecing together on their own. Boom! Your bone structure was always this stunning. Now you know how to make sure everyone else can see it too. Tell me in the comments, which one of these 3 cuts to avoid were you wearing without realizing it? I read every single one. Next time, we are getting into the one accessory mistake that adds 10 years overnight, and it is not what you would expect. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.